All right, so on number 1, it's asking us, Jasmine's practicing for a national spelling bee. It's going to happen in 4 months. She wants to learn how to spell 1,125 new words. She learns $75 each week. How many weeks will it take her to learn them? So if I'm wanting to split these words up into weeks, what should I be doing here on number 1? What should I be doing to work that out, Frank? Yeah, so we're taking our 75 and dividing it into 1,125. Okay? So we're going to work out this division. Will 75 go into 1? No. Will 75 go into 11?
No.
Will 75 go into 112?
Yes.
How many times? 1 time. So you can put your 1 up there. 1 times 75 is 75. Can I do 2 minus 5? No. So I'm going to borrow. When I borrow from 1, it becomes 0. And now that's 12 minus 5, which is? 12 minus 5 is? 7. And then now that's 0 minus 7. But can I do 0 minus 7? No. So I'm just going to look at that like 10 minus 7. And 10 minus 7 is 3. Let's bring down the 5. All right, how many times will 75 go into 375, Frank? 5 times. Okay. So 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 7 is 35 plus the 2. 37. When I subtract, I get 0. So what do I need to make sure I write with my answer? What do I need to make sure I write with my answer? Mary, what? Peyton? A sentence. Please make sure you have a sentence. So how many weeks will it take Jasmine to learn her new words? We got our answer. That many weeks for Jasmine to learn 1,125 new words. Please make sure you include your sentence. All right, on number 2. Stacy's partial solution. What does the word partial mean?
Right now.
What does the word partial mean, Noah?
It means like for, I don't know, like it means for like a little while.
For a little?
Piece of it.
A piece of it, like part. It is part of the answer. Is it the whole answer?
No.
No, this is just part of her work. This is one of her homework problems. We want to select all of the following that apply. Does it say 1?
No.
Does it say 2?
No.
It says select any that will apply to Stacy's homework problem. So we need to kind of figure out what Stacy's done so far. So we're saying 21 will go into 91,726. How many times will 21 go into 9?
No.
None. So does she have anything on top of the 9? No. How many times will 21 go into 91? 4. And she said 4 times 21 is 84. When she subtracted here, what did she get? When she subtracted, she got 7, and then the other 7 came from the one that she brought down. How many times will 21 go into 77? 3, which she's written up there. So what am I going to do next? Multiply. I'm going to do 3 times 21, which is 63, and then I'm going to subtract. So guys, A says Stacy needs to multiply in the next step. Is that true? What did we just do? We just multiplied because that's the next step. So A is true, so I would circle that. 7 minus 3 is 4, and 7 minus 6 is, so I get 14. I'm going to actually bring this up here to keep going. All right. We need to bring down our next number. That's going to give me a 2 there. How many times will 21 go into 142? What do you think, Peyton? How many times will 21 go into 142? What do you think? We can try a number out. What do you think, Christian?
6.
Okay, so let's do 21 times 7. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. So that's really close, but we got 147. So can I use that? No. So let's do 6. 21 times 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is... so we're going to put a 6 up here. 6 times 21 is 126. When I subtract, I get... Can I do 2 minus 6? So I'm going to bar. That becomes 3. 12 minus 6 is 6. And 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay? We still need to bring down the next number. So I'm going to bring down the 6 here. How many times will 21 go into 166? What do you think? 8. So let's do 21 times 8. 8 times 1 is? 8. 8 times 2 is? All right, I get 168. That's close, but will that work? No. So we're going to have to do 7, which we've already worked out. Good thing I didn't erase my work. So I get 147. When I subtract, can I do 6 minus 7? No, so I'm going to borrow. That becomes 5. 16 minus 7 is? 9. And 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay, so B says there is no remainder. Do I have a remainder? Yep. So B is not an option. C says 4,367 is the answer. Was that all my answer was? No, I still have this 19 down here. So C is not the answer. D says 4,367 and 19 over 21 is the answer. Is that true? Yes, because this 19 left over we would put on top. 21 from the door would go on the bottom. All right. You should already have your notes for today as well. So if you will go ahead, put your math workshop in your math workshop section. Please go ahead and put that in your binder so you don't lose it. When I take it up, I don't want you saying, I don't know where mine went to. All right, and Mason, you gave me yours. All right, so please put that in your math workshop section. All right, so our vocabulary, and today is the 28th. All right. Positive numbers. I'm waiting until we're kind of settled. Our binders, we're done messing with those. We've got everything put away where it goes. All right, so a positive number, or positive numbers, are numbers greater than greater than 0. All right, if they're bigger than 0 when I write them on the number line, they need to be going to the right. So we're going to say go to the right on a number line. And I'm just going to use that hashtag or pound symbol so that it'll fit on my line. All right, so a negative number is the exact opposite of that. So instead of being greater than 0, it's a number less than 0. So numbers less than 0. And instead of going to the right on a number line, it's going to go to the left on a number line. All right, so my positive are greater than 0, my negative are less than 0. So what about 0? Would 0 be positive or negative?
No, it can't be. Positive number. But I can find it.
0 is kind of like Switzerland. It's stuck in the middle, so it's going to be neutral. It's not going to choose the side.
I said
Okay. You are correct. It is neither positive or negative. It is not going to be positive or negative.
Are we going to do negative numbers this year?
That's why we're talking about negative numbers. All right, we're not going to do a ton of work with negative numbers right now, but we will do more operations with them at the end of the year. For right now, we're just going to kind of focus on number lines and values, like what the value of negatives are. All right, the next word is kind of a weird word, integers. And usually in the 6th grade is the first time that you hear this and we use it regularly. This, let's underline that double time for me, okay? This is going to be a word that when you leave 6th grade, you need to know, because your future math teachers are going to assume you know what an integer is. All right, and in fact, if you look at our learning target today, it's actually longer than normal. And our learning target today says, I can choose integers to represent real life situations and graph integers on a number line. And you'll see that word was used twice in our learning target. And the big thing is, guys, if I substituted that for number, can you choose a number to represent a real life situation? Yeah. Can you graph a number on a number line? Yeah. So if I plugged in the word number there, would you know what it meant? Yeah. What did I just replace integers with? Number. An integer is a number. Okay, now I'm putting that in parentheses here because that's not all it is. It's just a special type of number, so we need to know what's so special about it. All right, we need to know what is so special about an integer. So in the future, though, guys, when teachers say write an integer or we're going to do integers, you're going to be like, oh, these just means numbers. That's all that means. It's a fancy way of saying number. Y'all okay with that? Because, you know, like us math people think we got to be like sound smarter than everyone else. So we get our own words going on. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, but really, let's talk about why it's special. Integers are numbers, and they include positive and negative whole numbers and 0. Because we said 0 isn't positive or negative, so we want to kind of write that in that that's also included. Here's what's the cool thing about integers. What's that word say? Whole numbers. So if I tell you we're working with integers, what do you know you don't have to worry about? Fractions. Decimals. If it's a whole number, do you have to worry about fractions? Nope. Decimals? Nope. You just got to know your whole numbers. Now, we are going to do a little bit of fraction decimal stuff, but the main focus here is going to be whole numbers. Do we like integers? Yes, because they are whole numbers. They're going to be easy, hopefully. Fingers crossed, right? Okay. So underneath this, guys, I have some examples of the way like some of your vocabulary questions might be worded. So we're going to fill those in together based on the definitions that we just wrote down. All right, the first one says, numbers to the left of 0 are always, Braden? Negative. Numbers to the right of 0 are always, RJ? Positive. A positive number is always blank than a negative number. A positive number is always blank than a negative number. What do you think, Noah? Greater than. A positive number is always greater than a negative number. 0 is neither blank or blank. Mary Webb?
Negative or positive?
Mm-hmm. 0 is neither negative or positive. I'm going to put positive or negative. Zero is blank, then all negative numbers. Easton?
Higher.
Higher? What's another word of saying that? Frank? Greater than. So it is higher, and the way we would express that mathematically is we would say it is greater than all negative numbers. Okay? A negative number is always blank than a positive number. Peyton?
Less.
Less. Okay. Are there any questions about how we filled those blanks in? If I put something like that on your test that is this Friday, would you feel confident filling those in? If not, hopefully we'll practice some more this week. All right. So going back to our learning target, the very first part says I can choose integers to represent real life situations, which basically means I can assign a number for something. Y'all are going to like this because it says write an integer for each situation. What is an integer?
Number.
A number. So guys, it says write a number. Do you have to write a sentence?
No.
Do you got to write a paragraph?
No.
Do you need to write me an essay?
No.
No, what do you need to write me? An integer, a number. All you have to do is write down one number. That's it. Okay? So, for this first one, it says a 10-yard loss. So this is like probably in some sort of sport. Okay? But even if you don't know anything about sports, doesn't say what sport it is. All right, if it says it's a 10-yard loss, what number would best represent that type of situation? Noah?
Negative?
A negative, and what number am I going to have to go with that negative? 10. So instead of writing out the words, a 10-yard loss, I could say, hey, that means it's just a negative 10 to represent.
Interruption. Alicia Garcia, if you are in the building, please come to the parent office. Alicia
Okay.
Garcia.
Are there any questions
Please
about
come to the
number
parent
1?
office at this time. Thank you.
All right. So we just put a negative 10 because if you're losing something, that's going to be taking it away, right? It's kind of like subtraction. Just, am I taking it away from anything right here? No. All right. Number 2, it says 4 inches above normal. 4 inches above normal. What do you think that would be? Frank? Positive what? A positive 4. Now, guys, I want someone to raise their hand and tell me, how would I write positive 4 down as an answer? Keegan? Just 4. Just 4. All the numbers you've ever worked with your whole life so far have been positive, right?
Yep.
Okay. And whenever you've written your numbers, you've just written the number as itself. So just because we say positive 4, we don't put a plus sign there. You only need a sign with your negatives. Please only put 4. If you put a plus sign, I want you to erase it, mark it out. I will mark off for plus signs where we don't need them. Because am I adding here? No. I'm just saying, hey, 4. 4 inches above normal means just 4. All right. Kevin bought cupcakes for everyone at lunch. We wish Kevin was our friend. He had 3 left over. Write an integer to represent the number of cupcakes left over. What would be a good answer for number 3? What would be a good answer for number 3? What do you think, Braden Bulgar? If Kevin brought cupcakes for everyone at lunch and he had 3 left over, what would be a good integer? What would be a good number to represent? Okay. So if we have 3 left over, a negative 3 would mean like we're taking them away or we're short that amount. So we want just a regular 3 because it's like, hey, he's just taking home 3 extra cupcakes, right? Or maybe he's eating them on the bus ride home. That would be my choice, but that's okay. All right. I'm not Kevin. So, all right. Does that make sense why this would need to be a positive though? We're good with that? Okay. If we said Keegan ate 20 cookies, what would be a good number for that? A negative 20 because he's eating them. They're going away. All right? And he would probably have a tummy ache.
And diabetes.
Yeah, let's not go that extreme. All right? It takes a little bit more than that to actually have diabetes. So, all right, it would not be a healthy choice then, no. Okay. Number one, graphing these numbers. It says to graph each set of numbers on a number line. Now you notice these numbers have decimals and fractions. You're probably thinking, Miss Sawyer, you said integers didn't have decimals and fractions. That is correct. Integers do not. And when I'm doing a number line, you use integers on your number line, which means, can I have decimals on my number line?
No.
Can I have fractions on my number line?
No.
No, you're going to have to use integers. Now, here's the thing. When you're doing a number line, and I said this in one class, we're going to kind of write it out. Here are our rules. Your numbers have to be in order. You can't skip around and start with like -3, then do 1, then do -10, then do 8. Your numbers have to be in order. It looks like that's kind of hard to read, so I'll zoom in a little bit. Number 2, they have to be spaced equally. So I need them in order, I need them spaced equally, and then number 3, they have to be integers, which means they have to be whole numbers. Okay? So those are our 3 rules. In order, spaced equally, integers. They have to be whole numbers. Y'all good with that? All right. So when I'm doing my first graph, all right, I have a lot of numbers to fit on here, and unfortunately your math teacher did not give you very much room to do that. All right. So for this first line, I'm going to kind of make it a little bit longer. Okay, you'll see I've just made it a little bit longer. All right, I'm going to put my space marks on there. I want you to try to put your space mark as close to mine as you can. I would suggest always putting your marks on there first, because then you can do them more evenly. If you're doing your mark, a number, your mark, a number, your mark, a number, things don't end up being spaced equally like we said on number 2. All right, so we're just going to go in here. We're going to put a little space mark here. So 1. All right, so you can see I'm just doing little space marks. Guys, am I measuring these out with a ruler or anything? No, I'm just kind of eyeballing it and trying to make them spaced as evenly as I can. Guys, they are not perfect. I promise you, if you got out here and really measured those, they would not be perfect, but they look pretty close. They are consistent, okay? So if you'll kind of put your marks on your line as good as you can, so make your line a little bit longer like I did, put those marks on there. All right, guys, what is the smallest number in this group of numbers? What's the smallest number given to me here? Frank? A -8. Now, 8 isn't the smallest, but because of that negative, it's going to be the furthest away from 0 on the left. So I'm going to start at -8. Are y'all okay with that? On my number line, can I put any halves or decimals or anything? No, so I'm just going to count by ones from here. -8, -7, -6, -5. 4, -3. Are y'all okay with how I'm numbering this? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now guys, I probably didn't need to go all the way up to 9, but if I have space, you got to fill it in. Your number line just can't stop. And so you have to have numbers going all the way down. Are y'all okay with that? What number did I have to make it up to? Anyone have any idea?
3.
What was that, Mary Webb?
0.
What number did I look at your numbers here? What number did I have to get up to be a, okay, so 5.5 is the biggest number. So what whole number did I have to go to?
5.
Not 5.
6.
I had to make it up to 6 because that's in between 5 and 6, okay? All right, does anyone need more time putting your numbers on there? All right. So guys, we're going to put our graph on there now. Now guys, this is really important. Where does it say it has to go? On the number line. Does it say above the number line? No. I see dots all the time, just kind of like floating up there. All right? We don't have any floating dots. They have to be on the line, okay? So here's my -8. And there's negative 8 on my number line, and I'm going to put a dot on that spot. Okay, guys, does it say to label it? No, it just says to graph them there, so I'm just putting a dot. I'm graphing it. There's a dot. Okay, so negative 8 is done. Okay, what else do I need to do now? What's my next number? 5.5. Where is that going to have to go? Where would 5.5 go on my number line? What do you think? Easton? Keegan?
In between 5 and 6.
In between 5 and 6. Positive or negative 5 and 6? Positive. So here's my positive 5 and 6. And I'm just going to put a dot smack dab in the middle of those. Because 5.5 is the same as 5.5. So we're right in that halfway spot. All right, y'all good with that? Did I put a label on it? No, I just put a dot there. Done. All right, what about negative 2 1/4? Negative 2 1/4. This one's a little bit trickier. What numbers would that be in between? What numbers would that be in between negative 2 1/4? What do we think? Carrie, you awake with me?
Yeah.
What would 2 1/4 be in between? What two numbers?
3.
Okay, so that's one number. What other number would it be in between? 3 and what?
5.
So think we have 2 1/4.
Oh. 5 and 4.
What is 2 1/4 going to be between? What do you think, Mason?
In between 3 and 2.
In between 3 and 2 on the positive side?
Negative.
The negative. So we need to make sure we say in between negative 2 and negative 3. Are there any questions on how we knew it was between negative 2 and negative 3? Do y'all agree this is like saying 2 and a little more?
Yeah.
I don't know why I feel like it helps to say it in that voice. So it's 2 and a little bit more. Okay, I'm entertaining myself. If y'all aren't entertained, I am. Okay, so I have negative 2 and a little bit more. So I'm going to go, here's negative 2, there's negative 3. Which one would it be closer to? Peyton? Is it going to be closer to my 2 or closer to my 3?
2.
Closer to the 2. All right, so when I put my dot this time, do y'all see how, did I put it right in the center?
No.
No, I put it close to that 2 line. Peyton, how did you know it was closer to 2?
Because when you said that to the 2, it needs to be between 4. So I was thinking like it might be close to 2.
It's going to be close to 2 because, guys, y'all see that 1/4? Is that smaller than a half or bigger than a half?
Small.
It's smaller, so it's going to be closer to the small number. Look at the number on top. My number on top is a lot smaller than 4. So it's going to be a lot smaller, closer to the smaller number, not the bigger number. Okay? All right, that one's done. Let's do these whole numbers now. 0 gets a dot. So find your 0, put a dot. 3 gets a dot. Find your 3 and put a dot. All right, I'm not spending a ton of time on the whole numbers because I think those are pretty straightforward. All right, questions about that? All right, so let's do our next line. Again, I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra space. All right, so spacing that one out. Putting some space marks on there. These I've got a little bit closer because I think these numbers are a little bit further apart from each other, so I need more space, more marks. All right, if I'd rather have too many, guys. I did it with one of my classes today, and I didn't put enough marks, and I had to like white out and redo my whole number line. Because if you don't have enough, we got to redo it, redraw it, okay? So what's my smallest number here? Raise your hand if you think you can tell me my smallest number. Noah?
0.
Nope. Mary, what?
Negative 10.75.
Negative 10.75. Now I know 10's a big number, but because it's a negative, it's really super, super small. Okay? So we're going to go with negative 10.75. So what number should I start my number line with? I can't start it with negative 10.75. Remember, we got to use integers. We got to use whole numbers. Negative 11. Mary Webb, let's try raising our hand, please, okay? Negative 11. Then I can have negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? So again, I gave myself too many numbers, but I'd rather have too much.
Such thing as a negative 0.
No, because remember, 0 is not positive or negative.
You said negative 0.
Oh, I didn't mean to. I was just counting my negatives. It's just 0. Just 0. There is no negative 0, so I apologize if I said that. All right, let's start with our first number. Our first number is 3. Where am I going to put 3?
3.
On 3. On negative 3?
No.
No, on positive 3 to the right of 0. Fill in your dot. Negative 6. Where's it going?
At 6.
Braden?
Right on negative 6.
Right on negative 6. Make sure you put it on negative 6, not just 6. Negative 6, check. All right. 1 and 7/8. What's it going in between? 1 and 7/8. What two numbers is it going to go in between? Julia, what do you think? One and 7/8. What two numbers would it be in between? Remember, if I have 1 and a little bit more. Have I gotten to 2 yet? No. So I'm in between 1 and 2. It's always that number and the next one. Even if it's a negative, like here we had 2 and 1/4. It was negative, but it was still between 2 and, what comes after 2? 3. That's where we put it. This is 1. What's the next number? 2. So it's between 1 and 2. Which one is it going to be closer to? 1 or 2? RJ?
2.
It's going to be closer to 2. Look at that 7 on top. Do you see my fraction here? 7/8? 7 is kind of big compared to 8, isn't it? It's getting real close to the 8, which means this is getting real close to the next number, which is 2. So here's my 1 and 2, because it's positive, 1 and 2. We're going to put that dot right next to the 2 line. Okay? I'm not asking you to put it in an exact spot. I'm just asking you, is it in the middle or is it closer to one of the numbers? Okay? Remember, if 7 is getting closer to that bottom number, it's getting closer to the big number. Here, 1, was it getting close to 1? No, so it would stay close to that small number. Okay, done. All right, negative 10.75. What numbers is it going to be in between? RJ? Remember, it's 10, and then what comes after 10? 11. It's just going to be on the negative side. So it's going to be between 10 and 11 on the negative. So there's 10 and 11 on the negative. All right, 0.75. Is that bigger than a half or smaller than a half? Bigger. So is it going to be closer to 10 or closer to 11? Closer to 11, because that's getting bigger. So I'm going to put my dot right by the 11 bar. Are we okay with that? Check. And the negative 4 is going to go on negative 4. All right. The hardest thing we're learning today is these number lines. Okay. We're not doing any math with them, but we got to be able to put them on a number line. All right. Last one. Okay, so put my little marks again. All right, is anyone having trouble fitting their numbers in there when we're spacing them so close? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to give us another kind of hint. So we agree our smallest is negative 2. Y'all see that? So I'm going to start numbering with negative 2. And then I'm going to skip this line. What would this be? Negative 2? That would be negative 1. And then I'm going to put the next number on the next line, which is 0. Do you see that? That gives me a little bit more space to write my numbers. but I still have the marks. Then I'm going to skip 1, so that would be 1, then 2, 3, then 4, 5, then 7, then 9, then 11, then 13, then 15, then 17, then 19, then 20. You have to make sure you have enough space to get all the way up to 20. All right, what's my biggest number here? 20. So I have to make it up that far. Okay. Are they still spaced evenly? Yeah. They're still spaced equally apart. Okay. Huh? Why is the 0 here? So it's -2, then -1, then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so my first one is at -2, so I'm going to put a dot at -2. Check. All right, 2.2. What's that going in between? What two numbers? What two numbers would 2.2 be in between, Braden? 2 and 3. So, guys, here's 2, here's 3. Remember, we didn't number it. Braden, is 2.2 going to be closer to the 2 or closer to the 3?
Closer to the 2.
Closer to the 2, because 2 is a small number. Okay. 2.2 done. All right, 8.5. What numbers is 8.5 going in between? Morgan? What's 8.5 going to be in between? What two numbers? What comes after 8? 9. So it's always 8 and then the next one. So 8 and 9. Okay. So 8 and 9. So here's my 8. Remember, we didn't number it. So there's 8 and 9. Is it going to be closer to 8 or 9? What do you think, Peyton? Frank? It's going to be in the middle. So that was kind of a trick question. 8.5 is the same as 8.5. In the middle. 8.5, 8.5. Anyone play cards a lot? Okay. So, guys, what I think about is, like, think about your number cards. All right? Anyone play War, you know, where you flip it, the one with the highest number? Okay? That's exactly what this is like. All right? 5 is right in the middle of your number cards, right? Like, if you flip a 5, you're like, oh, they've got a lot of numbers they can choose from to beat you, but you've also got a lot that you could beat them with, right? So that 5 is in the middle of your number cards. It's also in the middle of your decimals. Okay, so 8.5, check. 15. Where's 15 going to go? Frank? On the 15. Now, I don't have a 15 here, remember? So it's 14. 15 is that line in between 14 and 16. So there's my 15. And then I have a dot on 20. Okay? All right, you can see, guys, this would be a whole lot easier on your own paper, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Where you can draw your line as long as you want.
Yep.
Yeah. Good thing your homework's in your book. All right, so if you look right here on the side, y'all see that? That's your homework. So just a reminder, guys, you have a textbook at home that looks like this. All right. All right, I need you to chill. It's all good, okay? But what I do need to do is get out a piece of paper. And at the top of your paper, I want you to label it page 421, numbers 1 through 6, and 10 through 21.
I was in my textbook the other day.
Alright, so guys, I don't expect you to lug your textbook back and forth. I'll put it up on the screen for you to use while you're in here. Don't start carrying your textbook around. It's heavy. Leave it at home.
Next year, we have to keep it in our locker.
Yeah, next year I'll stay in your locker. I don't know. They might have it to where you can leave it at home. I haven't even asked.
That's like our school bedroom.
Unless you put too much crap in your locker. Then it can get jammed and be hard to open. Alright, does everyone have their setup?
Yes.
Alright, so if you're still getting your setup, that's fine. I'm going to flip my book to page 421. The pages are numbered at the bottom, so just find page 421. All right. Now, guys, are you doing the entire page? No, you're going to do the 1 through 6. Then you're going to skip down and do 10 through 21. Please make sure you number your paper. Okay, does everyone have their paper? So we have our paper set up. This is what the inside of your textbook looks like. All right, we're starting in that first section. I'm going to zoom it in a little bit for my folks in the back. Okay. Are y'all having to do 7, 8, and 9?
No.
No. In fact, I'm going to put that there to cover it up so none of y'all get ahead of yourself. So there's the first 6. I would go ahead, guys, write down what your answer is to these 3. Write down your answer to those first 3. Right? Write down the problem on these. That way, in case you run out of time to make your number line before I move it, you have the numbers written. Yes? It says a 15-yard gain. What does a gain mean? It means you're getting it. You're getting an extra 15 yards. Or you're going 15 yards forward. All right. If you're gaining something, how is that a negative? How is that a minus? If you're gaining something, that means you're getting it.
15.
You're going forward. That's just a normal positive number. Okay, so those are the next ones. Again, on these first, I need to move it over more, sorry. On the first 10 through 15, I would just read them and go ahead and write down your answer. And then for these next ones, write down your numbers first, then work on your number line. It just says write an integer. Nope. All you have to do is write an integer. No extra sentences. Just a number. Positive or negative.